So NVIDIA has released a hotfix for their version 572.70. This one here is 572.75. It's supposed to address issues with the 50 series cards when it comes to crashes with black screens. If you have a 50 series card, let us know, in fact, if it has fixed the black screen issue. That's absolutely horrible. You pay so much for these video cards, and that's happening. Not to everybody, but for some it is, as well as it pertains directly to the RTX 5080 and the 5090. Graphics cards may not run at full speeds on system reboot when overclocked. I will link you to this, like I always do, in the YouTube description down below, so you can go over here and check it out. Some people have positive things to say, and some people have negative things to say. And before you install this, give it some time, read over this article, do some research yourself, and see if in fact it is worth installing this hotfix. Now, I already did a video on version 572.70. Instead of you having to go and see that video, I won't have to provide a link or anything to it. What I'm going to do is drop it right now. So if you've seen that one, you can skip it. If you haven't, you can watch it. All right, so let's go over the new NVIDIA driver. This is 572.70. It's, to be honest, like most of the drivers that NVIDIA is releasing these days, it's a mixed bag. All right, so let's go over the positive stuff here. First, this driver officially ushers in support for the recently launched RTX 5070 GPU, ensuring that users with this new card can enjoy optimal performance and compatibility with the latest games and technologies. So apparently there are lots of DLSS 4 enhancements, and NVIDIA is really pushing hard with DLSS, and now the new one, version 4. This driver aims to provide a smoother experience, or as smooth as possible, in games such as Frag, Punk, and the newly released, the enhanced version of Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, you can say what you want to about DLSS, and believe me, I've said enough about it, and I don't use it. I don't like the way it looks. But if you do have a lower-end video card, in other words, if you don't have a 4090 or a 5090, or at least, you know, a 4080 or a 5080, then you're going to have to use it to get higher frame rates that are, well, acceptable, or at least to a point where you can play the game. Because if you're only getting 15 to 20-ish frames per second, the game is not going to be that enjoyable. So, you know, it's a technology that has been handy, but I think it's going to be a bit of a crutch, because if companies like NVIDIA rely upon these AI technologies too much, well, they're going to move away from a native, raw, true performance to this trickery and like fake frames, don't you think? And it supposedly fixes G-Sync flickering issues, instability in Ubisoft games using the Snowdrop engine, and various issues encountered in creative applications like Blender and Adobe Substance 3D Painter. What are some of the not so positive things that are going on with this driver? Well, let's jump into that now. This is something very important. If you are considering upgrading to this driver, make sure you head over to this Reddit post. I will provide a link to it in the YouTube description down below. It has all the information about the driver, a link to the driver, how to uninstall your old driver and install the new one, plus a ton of comments. So despite all of these fixes, users are still having problems, like, for example, flickering lights in some games, namely Forza Horizon 5, annoying black screens, crashes during installation, but also black screens during normal use, as well as, you know, something that has been going on for a while since the 574.47 released driver, performance drops on the RTX 50 series cards. That is not good news, especially considering how much these 50 series cards cost. Now, if you play Fortnite, you are probably already aware of all kinds of crashes happening. That's been going on for a number of months now, so that problem has not been resolved. And apparently, according to some users here, it still isn't resolved. So there's no definitive solution, certainly not with a driver update. However, it does mention here that disabling reflex might be a temporary workaround, but that is not ideal. Well, stuttering and performance hiccups is still a problem. Years and years and years and years now, stuttering has been a problem, and it's more pronounced in some game engines than other, like for example, Unreal Engine, either it's 4 or 5. There is lots of stuttering happening and all kinds of little glitching and hiccups that make it so annoying to play a game. I'll use a game that actually I love and I've put over 200 hours in as an example, and that is Icarus. If you haven't played it, play it. It is absolutely spectacular, especially if you like open world survival type of games. But yeah, you're running or something, you're moving at a decent pace, and it starts to glitch out on you and stuff. It's so annoying. Apparently, there's all kinds of lower frame rate drops and stuff in GTA, the GTA 5, the enhanced edition. Also, they're suggesting that if you have a multiple monitor setup, this could probably magnify and make this issue of stuttering and performance hiccups worse. I think they're all grasping at straws at this point. I've tried a million things, and I've switched from, for example, DirectX 12 to DirectX 11. That seems to work, and then it doesn't, and I switch back, and then that seems to work. And I've tried a number of other things that have not worked for me. Now, to be fair, I do have a multiple monitor setup, but there are also concerns that frame generation combined with G-Sync and V-Sync might be also causing problems. So, I think at this point, everyone's just grasping at straws and trying different things and suggesting different things to try. And sometimes it mitigates the problem, makes it a little less of an issue than, before, but nothing has fixed it. And I guess we'll keep waiting for a fix for these performance hiccups and stuttering in games. Now, all of this stuff is frustrating. It is not the end of the world. You can sometimes, like I said, find a workaround for it, and it's not ideal, but you can still play the game. However, if the driver breaks your system or really breaks the game, and what I mean by breaks is you can't play it, or you play it and when you're a minute in or 10 minutes in, it crashes, instability is going to really, it's going to ruin your experience completely. And you might have to roll back to, like, for example, and I'm not saying you could roll back to this particular driver, but this is just an example. You could roll back to 566.36 or 561.09. And this is what some people here are kind of recommending to others. However, you can't always do this, and I wouldn't recommend going back too far, but you might have to if you want to, have a system that is stable, and if you want to play the games without them crashing. And something that is very important is a clean installation of your video card driver, especially your video card driver. You can use Display Driver Uninstaller or DDU to do that. It will help tremendously. Just don't download a driver, whatever it is, and especially a video card driver, and go ahead and install it over the old one. It could ruin your OS. I suspect you probably have Windows 11. And you might have to reinstall everything again. It's sometimes almost impossible to get it out completely. But if you, number one, do a clean uninstall of that, and maybe do it through safe mode, and then restart your system, and then reinstall the new driver, it should be okay. And if the new driver doesn't work, you can repeat that process and maybe install a previous driver that worked for you. Now I'm going to wrap this video up, and I'm going to say something now that I normally don't say. I know you can see it here at the top of the screen where it says like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and comment, because it helps. It really does. I'll see you in the next one.